3 weeks ago in Los Angeles, you were talking about how we're evolving, and you brought up you used the words, let's do it the new way. And we went thriving babies, thriving mothers, and I wanted to ask you a question about the 1 second pivot. I know we revel in the contrast and the advantage of pivoting quickly. That puts us into like a step 2 relationship with our inner being. We get to share more time in step 2.
There's a lot going on here.
There is a lot going on here.
We want to start with the 1 second pivot, because the only environment or situation in which someone could experience a 1 second pivot, meaning know what I don't want, know what I do want, is if you're in this more neutral zone where there's not much variance between satisfied and not satisfied. The more variance there is, then the more of what you call time it takes for you to focus yourself into different momentum, because law of attraction is the engine behind all of this. So if you've got a lot of momentum taking you away from who you are, you're not coming back in 1 second, unless that's the second the truck hits you and you move into non-physical.
Right. I understand.
And so the 1 second pivot, it really is what we're guiding you toward. That's being close enough there that you can make that choice. Otherwise, the further you get from knowing what you don't want and knowing what you do want, then the more of what you call time it takes for you to move yourself thought by thought by thought by thought into the vicinity of alignment. Meditation is the fastest way we know of. And if you're reading the Ask and It Is Given book, take a look at them if you're interested. But they are different processes for different situations that you might find yourself in. And all of them define what emotions might be present when this particular process might be helpful. The only process that covers all of the emotions that's helpful no matter where you are is the process of meditation. Because in meditation, if you've got lots of contrast active in your vibration and you are able to quiet your mind, which we believe anyone can do once they understand how easy it is to do it. Once you quiet your mind, your vibration rises immediately. And that is the most magnificent pivot that we can think of, because the raising of vibration and then the discovery or the accomplishing of vibrational mutuality with your inner being gives you access to infinite intelligence and good timing about all things that pertain to you. Is that what you're getting at?
That's exactly what I'm getting at. The next question is, would you speak to the surrender of our compliance with our inner being in the receiving mode?
We don't actually use the word surrender that much. A lot of teachers do. But what we would mean if we were using the word, we would mean releasing resistance. We would never mean giving up desire, because you can't. You can't give up the expansion that life has caused you to accomplish, which is where your inner being stands. But surrendering is giving up the beliefs that are preventing you from moving in the direction. Giving them up or suspending them. Surrender, suspender. Suspending them. Just letting them not be active. Well, most people don't do that. Something happened to you 20 years ago. Most people talked about it 20 years ago and 19 years ago and 18 years ago and 17, 16, and talked about it today. In other words, you keep updating the vibration of it. So you haven't suspended the vibration of it under those conditions. You've kept it active. So it's not likely that you're going to have a 1 second pivot now and that all of a sudden you're going to surrender a vibration that you've been practicing all this time, because law of attraction has helped you to keep it active, and it's illogical that you would surrender it unless you find some way to quiet your mind. And when you meditate, do you meditate? When you find yourself in that sort of detached state where you can't really tell your nose from your toe, that detached state where you're just sort of floating and drifting and not thinking, that is the ultimate surrendering or suspending or deactivating of contrasting thought, which allows an instant pivot into all the thought that your inner being has about you. But now hear this. You got there through releasing resistance. And now you're in that satisfying place of non-resistance. Even though your inner being knows everything you want and where every bit of it is and how you can get there, your inner being isn't all of a sudden force feeding you with all of those ideas. Instead, your inner being is allowing you to acclimate to the momentum, and then as the thoughts begin to flow and you acclimate to those thoughts, then you get to witness the improvement of your life. So what are you getting at here?
I'm getting at, I want to go over it again. The context was Jerry had read a headline and it said babies and mothers hungry, no medicine. And then a group like this, we got together, and in 10 days they lifted the blockade. And I said, I want to flow this jet stream on this high flying into the subject.
We want to discuss this fully with you, and we understand completely what you want. So just relax and let's chew through this for a moment. So the idea of this is that I'm here in this physical body, and that through it I've witnessed things like headlines of things I don't want, that have caused me to want children to be fed and medicine to get where it needs to be, and people to thrive rather than suffer, and prosperity to abound. And oh, there's so much that I want because of the headlines that I've witnessed. Not only I, but billions of others have created this collective vortex of well-being, and source is all over it. But now in my human form, I want to help it along even more than I have been. I've been part of creating this asking, and I'm maybe one of the few who understands that the answering is already there, that it's already been given. So now I want to, this is what we hear from you, I want to be a further help in turning those thoughts into a reality than I have been. So how can I best focus my mind in order to get the food where it needs to be, and get the babies back with their parents, and help soothe the wounds that are bleeding, and what can I do to help? And what we really want you to know is that you've done all that you need to do, maybe not all that you want to do, but you've done all that needs to be done, in that you have identified the problem, which caused you to identify the solution. And if you can trust that source energy is all over the solution, then you living happily ever after is the most that you can do. But that goes contrary to what most people think, because it feels like, wait a minute, they're still suffering and I'm living happily ever after. How does that square? How can me living happily ever after, how can my satisfaction be of benefit to anyone? Because in your satisfaction, you've lifted the vibrational blockade. In your satisfaction, now you are a conduit through which more well-being can flow, where more good timing can flow. And so it is our promise to you, as you hold yourself in a place of satisfaction by not taking score. You see, that's the only thing about this scenario that you've explained to us that isn't the best one, because when you intend to do good and then you watch to see the good you've done, you often are aware of what's not happening as much as you are aware of what is happening. So you have to stay satisfied. You have to be satisfied the source energy is on it. You have to be satisfied that you've launched the rocket. You have to be satisfied that the vibrational reality exists. You have to feel satisfied that everyone has the ability to get what they want. You have to feel satisfied that you are satisfied. That's the most important thing. Be satisfied that you are satisfied, and then ask for awareness of improvement. Ask for awareness that the pressure is being taken off. Watch for the benefit. Esther finds herself feeling like you're feeling often, because she thinks, I'm living happily ever after. Can't I use my alignment in ways to really put some emphasis on some things that could really matter? But almost every time she steps into that arena, she doesn't mean to, but she finds herself pushing against those she believes caused the problem. And then she's worthless to the solution, because now she's back in step one again. So you got to really be in step 5. You got to be really willing to give up your attitude about the problem causers and surrender yourself to the solution. You have to surrender yourself to the solution. It's one or the other. You can't be active on both.
So what you're saying is the answer is laughing and singing and playing all day. That's it.
And feeling interested and feeling proud of yourself and liking what you see in others and seeing the positive aspects in that and that and that. and adoring the planet and loving the way the ocean is and seeing how blue the water is and appreciating the balance of the planet and devouring the food and feeling appreciation for all of those who contributed to the bringing of it to you. It's endless. It just goes on and on and on and on. There is so much to focus upon that gives you satisfaction.
I'm completely satisfied.
Really good. Good conversation. So we talked about more things today than you might currently realize, because we kept coming back to just one thing, which is paying attention to the way you feel and holding yourself as close as you can into that least resistant state. We want you to think about this one thing. We never assign homework. But this is where, if you put your attention, you will get your greatest satisfaction and your biggest payoff as a result of what's happened here today. First, we want to say, because of your willing participation here with us and your willingness, we started to say patience, but patience really isn't what we're reaching for, because patience is sort of enduring something that you don't want to endure. And what we really mean is, by being present and listening and allowing yourself to hear the combinations of things that we've all talked about, your set point has shifted. Your vibrational point of attraction is in a different place than it was when you walked in the door, which is a huge advantage to you, because you already had a vortex full of requests that you had personally established and identified, and now you're more open and receptive to the receiving of them. So when you leave here, don't get into a dialogue with someone where you want to get all heady and wordy about what happened here. Let this be an emotional surrendering. Let it be a shifting of vibration. Let it be a coming together between you and you that you feel more than you think about. Don't try to explain it to anyone, not even if the one that you feel inclined to explain it to was sitting here with you in the room. Esther saw in New York last weekend the play Hamilton. She had heard about it. She really didn't understand. She knew sort of what it was going to be about, but she didn't know enough about it to be really ready for what it was. And the awesomeness of it left her forever changed. And as she tries to explain it to those who weren't there, she just feels foolish. Her words just sound like garble as she looks at them and realizes they're getting nothing from her description. She just can't get enough words in and remember enough of the lyrics and get animated enough to make them get what she got from being there. Well, that's what's happened to you. You can't explain the vibrational shift that has taken place within you. It's enormous. And what that means is, as you'd make just the slightest little determination that you're going to stay lean on the satisfying edge of the spectrum, that you're going to be the witnesser of some things falling into place that have felt out of place to you for a while. Improvements in this and that and this and that and this and that and this and that. And this is what we ask of you. This is the homework that we're assigning. We don't assign homework, but this is it. Make the correlation. Make the correlation. That is new because I was more satisfied than I usually am. And once you get the hang of this satisfaction business, so many things ripe and ready for you to pluck from your vortex are going to flow into your experience. And it's not just the thoughts turning to things and now all of a sudden you've got things in your life that you've been wanting. It's the fun of you getting to witness the unfolding of them and you knowing that you did it by the shifting of your vibration. There is so much love here for you. We feel appreciation for your willingness to be here in this body, and for your willingness to be here in this room, for your willingness to put up with the contrast that puts the new stuff in the vortex, from your willingness to accept that there is a vortex, and for your willingness to look in the direction of it with some faith or belief that it really is there, for your willingness to accept that you have an emotional guidance system, and for your willingness to feel it and guide yourself in the direction of what feels best within it. We appreciate your step one-iness. And we know that you appreciate our step two-iness. And we want you to know that we adore your step 3-ness. And as you have moved into step 4-ness today, you're going to live in happily ever afteriness.